Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I am Maarten Tielemans. I'm the Chief Product Officer of THEOplayer, and today I will give a short presentation on whether you should buy or build your video player. So the key question that we want to have answered today is, should we buy a commercially available video player or build one internally ourselves? At THEOplayer, we see that today the industry is basically divided in these two camps. There are companies that have decided to build the video player internally themselves, but there's also companies around that have decided to go with the buy approach. It's an important choice to make between these two, and it can have a really critical impact on your streaming experience as a whole. Especially because video players, they're the most consumer-facing part of your video streaming infrastructure, and it is important that you make a right choice there to not affect the overall experience. So underlying, there are three big choices available. The first one is complete in-house development of the solution. So developing a video player from scratch and taking the whole experience in-house, making sure that the video player is developed according to your own needs, your own requirements. The second option is making use of open source software and extending upon it with new features, with new functionality that you think is critical to your business. And the third option that is available is making use of of commercially available solutions. As for which choice is best, it's a very difficult choice, and it often depends on your own requirements. But in my presentation, I will give some key considerations that you should take into account when making the choice. And I hope that my slides allow you to make a more calculated and a more informed decision. So in my opinion, there are four key considerators that you should take into account when making the choice between building or buying a video player solution. The first key consideration is the video ecosystem, and then both internally and externally. Internally, I'm speaking about your video streaming infrastructure and how your video player fits into that. Externally, I'm talking about your viewers. How do you want to reach them? On what devices do you want to reach them? Through what media do you want to reach them? A second key considerator is the feature development of the player and how you want to handle that. A third key considerator is the maintenance and the support of the total solution. And then finally, it's about how the video player development fits into the strategic focus of your company and how you see the video player in general as a part of your company. So let's look at the first consideration, the video ecosystem, and then more importantly, externally, so the viewer devices. So when buying or building a video player, you always have to face the choice, how do you want to reach your audience? I'll give an example. So take, for example, a news publisher. These days, they are very widely available through websites, and they reach digitally a lot of their audience through their website. But more and more, these news publishers, they see added value in having, for example, mobile native applications, because these mobile native applications offer an increase in experience towards the end user. You can install the application on your home screen, you can open it with a single click, resulting in a higher return. But it also allows you to basically push a message towards visitors, informing them when a major news event is going on. And if that is important to your business, then you should take the video player into account there. So in general, we identify four different groups of viewer devices. The first group is the computer or the laptop devices. The majority of video today we see consumed there through website. So you need to keep into account Chrome browser, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Edge, and making sure that if you buy or build a solution, that it works across these browsers. The second group is basically mobile devices. You can reach your audience there through either mobile web, and again, the ecosystem is divided into parts, Apple and Android, Google. So on the case of Android, you want to make sure that your solution is compatible with the Chrome browser, and in the case of Apple, you want to make sure it's compatible with Safari. But there's also the opportunity of developing native applications both Android and iOS again, and you need to make sure that if this is in line with your video player requirements or your business requirements, that you have a video solution that works there. The third group is smart TVs, and it's a rather new group, and it's very diversified, but there are three big players there today that you definitely need to keep into account. The first one is Tizen, which is the Samsung operating system. The second one is LG with WebOS. And finally, there's also the Android TV operating system, which builds on the whole Android ecosystem. And the final group is connected devices. Again, this is a very broad group and includes devices such as Chromecast, Apple TV. But in the US, for example, a lot of media is consumed on Roku or even on devices such as Xbox or PlayStation. In general, when you look at this slide, you need to make sure that whatever you choose as video solution, you need to make sure that it aligns where you want to reach your viewers, both today, but also in the near future. Then we come to the internal part of the video ecosystem, basically the video streaming infrastructure. This is a slide that I use internally when I'm training people. It basically shows a very simplistic video streaming infrastructure. It's basically a minimum that you need for streaming video online. It includes a camera, a transcoding service, and a streaming service, and eventually the delivery over the internet and the consumer devices that you want to reach. However, typical video streaming infrastructure is more complex. So there are multiple parts that are key to companies there. I listed some of them on my slide here. The first one is streaming. Then I'm speaking about streaming server. There's also the content delivery. You can think either peer-to-peer. You can think content delivery networks. You can also need to keep into account content protection if this is important to your business. If you're dealing with premium content, it's obviously a requirement that you need to have digital rights management in place. The fourth component in a typical video streaming infrastructure goes about analytics. Typically, a lot of companies, they have multiple solutions in place even. So it's possible that they have one analytics solution specifically for detecting player errors and another one for measuring the overall experience of the solution. Another component that is very important in some companies is advertisement. Especially, I mentioned the story of a news publisher. All news publishers online today, they monetize their content through advertisement. And it's very key that there is a strong integration there as well. And then finally we come to the video player itself, which, as I mentioned, is the most consumer-facing aspect of the whole video streaming infrastructure. And it also defines the whole viewer experience. So why is it important that you are aware of how your video streaming infrastructure looks? Because it's key that all these components, they work together seamlessly. And most of these components, they come together in the video player specifically, in a sense that your video player will communicate, for example, with your advertisement component. And you want to deliver an as smooth as possible experience. So we don't want any hiccups in the whole experience because that can disrupt the viewer experience, and then viewers have the tendency to abandon. The conclusion here is that no matter if you decide to buy or build a video player, you need to make sure that it's fully compatible with your video streaming infrastructure. So that was the first key consideration around the video ecosystem. Let's move on to the feature development one. A key driver when it comes to feature development is basically what is everybody else doing and what can I do to make a difference. Especially when building the video player yourself, you need to identify what features would make a difference for me, towards competitors, and how can I make sure that I retain more eyeballs than competitors. This requires a deep knowledge of the industry, and sometimes you don't even have the people available inside your company with this type of knowledge. Furthermore, who's going to take the responsibility for developing these features? So even if you have a video player in place, it's very important to also keep building upon it, making sure that the experience that you deliver to get to your viewers today, within a year you still want to deliver a very valuable experience to your viewers. And then finally we come to the point of alignment across devices. So we spoke earlier about needing to know where your viewers are, where your eyeballs are. You need to make sure that if you develop new features, that they are not just available on desktop and not on mobile. Because speaking as an end consumer, there's nothing more frustrating when features are available on one platform and not on another. The conclusion here is you need to really keep into account how you will handle feature development. Is it something that you want to take in-house? Is it something that you have the expertise of doing? Do you have the vision? Where do you want to bring your video player within a year? And if that's true, then take that along. If you don't have that, then it might be more valuable to work together with an external party around this. Then we come to the third key considerator, which is maintenance of the whole solution. So as mentioned, the video player is a critical part of your streaming infrastructure, and it is also the most consumer-facing one. Your video player will be used on a multitude of devices. However, devices evolve over time. Today, I think the majority of video or media on Android is consumed on Android 4.4. And if we look within a year, it might be Android 7 or it might be Android 8. And you need to make sure that you take these upcoming versions into account. You need to test your video player against upcoming releases, against alpha releases, not only of new devices, but also of new web browsers. Because if you don't do it and any issue pops up, then it will directly reflect on how your consumers, how your viewers experience your product. That also brings me to viewer issues in general. You can test a lot, you can prepare, you can take everything into account, but issues typically, they tend to slip into production. And typically these are small things that we did not think about in advance. And it's great that viewers then come to us and they notify us about this. They see, hey, there's a small issue within your video stream, but they also expect you to be able to resolve the issue then. So you need to really act on viewer feedback. You need to resolve the issue. And then finally, it comes to the structure of the team. So previously, I spoke about feature development or player development in general. So say that you have your own player development team in-house. Is this also the same people that will handle viewer issues? Is it also the same people that will be doing the testing? Because if it is the case, then you're taking valuable time away from them. You're taking valuable time away from them in the sense that it might delay feature development. The conclusion of this slide is, when you're looking at your video player and the crucial role that it plays in your video streaming infrastructure and how close it is to your end consumer, you really need to take into account how you will handle the maintenance of the solution, because it is crucial to take into account the testing of future versions of devices. You also need to make sure that you maintain the solution and you upgrade it when you detect any issue. And finally, we get to the key considerator about strategic focus and how the video player basically fits within your own organization. So a main question to ask here is, if you are developing your video player today, do you have a roadmap of the product? Do you know where do you want to be within a year? I actually spoke with a number of companies here over the last few days, and a lot of them, they don't have a clear vision on their video player, even though they are developing it in-house. A number of them even told me that they do not have a dedicated video player development team. To them, it is a secondary form of importance. The team that they put on video player development is the same team that is responsible for building the look and feel of the website, for making sure that the mobile applications that they develop integrate well. And as a company, what THEOplayer does is specifically video player development. If a customer or a potential customer tells me that, I think it's an insane approach to handle video player development. And then a third point that you need to take into account is basically, is the video player a key differentiator for your business? When talking about the feature development and the insight in the industry, are you really doing anything that is unique with the video player that really that would make it valuable for you to develop it yourself? If you don't even have a dedicated team on the player, or if you don't do any of these things specifically, is it valuable that you are building a Me Too product? Isn't it better then that you take these developers and you put them on basically developing a better look and feel of your website, a better experience overall? Isn't it better that you take these people that you're currently letting do player development, either on the site or dedicated, and you focus them on what really makes a difference for you as a business? So in conclusion, keeping in mind these previous slides, there are companies that build their video player internally, and there are companies that decide to buy. The ones that build it internally might do it from scratch, or they might do it on top of open source. However, the companies that do it successfully, they keep these four aspects in mind. They know their own ecosystem. They know where they want to reach the viewers. They have a very clear understanding of how their video infrastructure works, what key components are in there, and how they want these components to work together. They have a team specifically in place to drive feature development on top of the video player. They also have predefined goals and a roadmap for the player when they want these features to hit the market. And finally, they have a strategic focus for the video player in place that allows them to really make it valuable for them to do this. And to name some companies that do this, for example, Netflix, the same thing with YouTube. They have dedicated teams in-house that do nothing but player development. And for them, it's really valuable because it makes a key differentiator to their business to do so. So in general, the conclusion, there is no right or wrong way to handle video players. You can build it yourself, you can buy a video player, but you need to make sure that no matter what choice you make, it needs to align. You want to make sure that you can reach your audience across all the devices that you want to reach. You need a player to optimally fit in your ecosystem. It needs to optimally work together with your analytics, DRM, with your advertisement solution. You need the video player to evolve along with your own requirements. You need to make sure that what you expect from the video player, it's there today, but it also needs to be there within a year. You need a way of dealing with viewer input. If there are any issues within the video player, you need a way of handling it. But most importantly, it needs to align with what you're doing as a company. And if you're investing time and development effort on building something, while the same people could be better spent on making your product better overall, then in general it's a waste. So take these considerations into account and make sure that you make a calculated and determined decision whether to go with building a video player or buying one. Finally, I have some slides on what we do at THEOplayer. So at THEOplayer, we accommodate specifically to this need. We are a commercially available video player, but we are available on a wide variety of devices. For example, I spoke with one of our customers about 9 months ago, and back then the only solution that we provided was on web. But they came to us and they were like, we're really happy with your product on web, but we want the same product on Android, the same on iOS, the same across smart TVs. We want to reach our audience, we want the same features no matter which device. We want to provide a uniform experience. Furthermore, what we do is, the only thing we do as a company is video player development. So we take care there as well of making sure we optimally fit in the video streaming infrastructure of our customers. We pre-integrate with analytics solutions, with DRM, with advertisement solutions. We test and we validate that THEOplayer optimally works together with streaming solutions. And we have been validated by our customers with the Streaming Media Reader's Choice Awards in 2016 for this, for Best Video Player Solution and SDK. On this slide, you can see some of our customers. Typically, the customers that we work for are broadcasters. They are telcos, but also video publishers online. And finally, we also have a segment of research, educational, and governmental institutes. So thank you a lot for attending my session on whether or not to buy or build your video player. I hope that I was able to provide you with valuable input that allows you to make a more calculated decision. Are there any questions that you have towards me? You can ask them right here, or you can send me an email. I'll also be available after the show. You can come by or come to our booth, which is right around the corner.